So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Common Sense SEO Show number 23. And sorry for the slightly late start to the show. We had a bit of a glitch. I kept getting warnings from the Google browser telling me that I was being controlled by aliens or something. So anyway, here we are. We're here. And yeah, we've got a different show for you today. In case you're wondering who that person is sat there, if you can see a strange face sat over there, then yeah, hello, Adrian.
Hi, Tony. How you doing?
Yeah, welcome to the show. We've got Adrian has been the trusty co-host today, and I've been the untrusty co-host by being unable to sign into anything. But yeah, I mean, Hendrik's away doing his going back to his youth, I think, reliving his childhood by going concert to a rock concert somewhere in the north of Denmark. So he's got a long drive. He's not here today. Adrian's kindly stepped in, and we're also going to make him the star of the show, the feature of the show. So yeah, it's good to have you here, Adrian, and thanks for stepping in.
Thank you very much. My 30 minutes of fame.
Yeah, that's right. Well, hopefully you won't be a complete stranger. I mean, we sort of mentioned it a few weeks ago, didn't we, about sort of being there as the trusty deputy whenever we needed someone, and then it sort of weeks went by where everything went swimmingly, and we just yeah, we seemed to manage. But yeah, here you are, and I'm sure you'll be back again in the near future. I hope so. Anyway,
happy to be here.
Yeah. So everybody that's well, I don't know who's here at the moment, but I'm going to just assume that everybody can hear us. So I'm not going to ask because there's a bit of a lag between people sort of saying yes or whatever. Anyway, what it is Adrian, over the years, for the people that are from the RFR group, obviously you're very aware of Adrian because he steps in and does lots of support, peer support, just off his own back without sort of any payment or any praise or accolade. You're just in there in the trenches, aren't you? Just helping people along. And of course, I've spoken to Adrian on several occasions, and I also know that he is active in his own SEO agency. And we thought that it'd be good to have a chat about that, because I know a lot of the people from the RFR group especially are just getting started. Some of them have got one or two clients. Some of them are struggling to find clients. It's the same old thing. I think we all go through it and we all suffer from it. And even when we think we've got it nailed, something comes along and derails us, you know, and sends us off into a spin again. So it's never easy being an SEO agency. It's never easy finding clients. So who better to probably broach the subject than a person that's out there in the trenches doing this day by day. So any ideas where you might like to start on this journey, Adrian? Why even? Why here?
Why are we here?
Yeah.
But I suppose I learned SEO as a business owner out of necessity, because I had to, you know, back 13, 14 years ago when I started my business, I couldn't afford, it was a small business, I couldn't afford to spend money on like newspaper advertising. That sounds silly today, but who would advertise in newspapers? And I knew, you know, I learned quickly about AdWords, and then when that started to get expensive, I knew the other way to get found was on the internet, on Google, and I learned little bits and pieces along the way, and eventually, about 6-7 years ago, I got very much into SEO for, you know, as providing it as a service to other business owners, as much as, you know, which was more fun than just doing it for myself. So I learned that a necessity. I seen how you could shortcut the need to pay for advertising if you were getting found at the top of page one. SEO evolves an awful lot, you know, for all of us. But it evolved for me from being a necessary part of my business to becoming my business.
Yeah, that's a good reason, really, isn't it? Sort of getting involved. I think there's a few others. I mean, I don't think he'd mind me saying, but there's like Pete there in the group, Pete Murray, who's actually I believe he's a fully qualified dentist, and you know, and he's taking it on as a business, not a necessity maybe, but a business interest, and also it seems like a hobby, and you know, other opportunities come out of that, don't they? So you know, you never know. He might hang up his sterilizer and move full-time SEO. Who knows?
You know, it becomes, I suppose for anybody who's been hands-on in a business, or been on the tools anyway, if you've had a trade business, it certainly has an appeal in that, you know, you can work from home. So it's often sold as a lifestyle type business, that you can have the laptop lifestyle, and you can travel and work online. So there is that piece. For me, I love doing what I do. I love SEO. I love marketing. I love sales. And that was the appeal for me. It also allows the flexibility for family life. Before I got stuck into SEO full time, I used to leave the house at 5:30 in the morning. My kids were still in bed. My wife was still in bed while I was sort of heading off to drive for an hour and a half or 2 hours to work. So, you know, from a family friendly point of view, I'm here to take my kids to school in the morning. I'm here in the evening to pick them up, make my wife's dinner. So that's an advantage to it, and that probably draws a lot of people towards the business. But go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say, and then what we spoke of this the other day, didn't we? Where, you know, we're seeing people in the groups and they're getting started. They're looking for the first client. I mean, that is one of the things, isn't it? It's having the confidence to go out there. And I mean, we sort of probably fool ourselves by playing, or I don't know, delay the pain by playing around with lots of tools and you know, gadgets and things and all these, you know, one button ranking things, just to avoid going out there and actually getting clients, and sort of say, well, we're just training, we're just getting ready. And I mean, how do you sort of just go from that to the point of having the confidence to go out and get these clients?
You know, there's two sides to it. There's one particular SEO guru who promotes just go out and get the client and learn on their dime, and, you know, learn the ropes when you have the client. And they push cold email as a big way of getting clients. Now that has a value, because sometimes if you just jump in both feet, land your first client, then you have to learn quickly on the job. From an ethical point of view, I don't know whether that's the right thing to do. But on the other side of the coin is there's too many of us who'll dabble and play and practice, you know, getting ready, and never pulling the trigger on getting the client. And there's certainly, you hit the nail on the head. Where do you get the confidence? I think you have to, you know, learn a certain amount to build a little bit of confidence in that you can fulfill what it is that you're selling. But at some point you have to just, you know, go out and sell yourself as a service provider, and you know, fill in the gaps along the way.
Yeah, I mean, the way that one of the ways that we get work, really, I mean, the sort of stuff that comes through from the show is more to do with agency support services, and we're sort of building up a bit of a portfolio around that. But for my own clients that come in through this part of the business anyway, for me it was I went on a training course, and it was about starting your own business. And I mean, I've been in businesses, I've had successful businesses for years, so I didn't really need to go on the course, but I wanted to go on the course because of the networking aspect. And sure enough, it turned to be quite a revelation, because it was provided by, I mean, I'm ex-forces, and it was provided by an ex-forces charity, and you know, the course was okay, but the thing was that introduced me to them and them to me. And then from that point onwards, they've been referring any new ex-forces member that comes along to me.
Yeah.
And the good thing about ex-forces, I mean, I shouldn't really be saying this, because everybody will be going off and sort of tapping on the door of the charity saying, hey, I'm here, I'm better than he is. But, you know, it's the thing is they come to me. They like to keep work in amongst the ex-forces community, I suppose. But the good thing I like about forces as well, ex-forces, is that they're trained to do their job, and they're trained to let other people do what other people do well. Yeah. So in a way, I get less hassle from my clients because they have that military training, which is sweet. The downside is of course, most of these are business startups, and they're one-man bands or one-woman bands, whatever, and that has lots of. I mean, I've always set these benchmarks of what I expect from a business. Like it's got to have 5 employees, and it's got to be moving from 6 figures to 7 figures, which is all well and good. But actually, then going out and nailing those clients is a completely different matter, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you could niche down a bit like what I have, I mean, I don't have to look for those people. I mean, sometimes I go off to these training courses and I do a day on SEO, which always goes down pretty well. So it's getting out there into the and embedding yourself in those communities. So if you find a nice little community that you can attach yourself to and be valued within that community, I mean, that's a real gate opener. So that is another option. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's lots of different ways that you can attract customers or go after customers. One way that I used to use was looking to see who's spend money on advertising. Because if the hardest thing that you will do is try to convince a business owner that who's all their business comes through word of mouth. You are rolling a rock up a hill if you're trying to sell them on the idea of spending money on marketing. If you get somebody who's spending money on Google AdWords or in magazine ads, they're used to spending to acquire customers, and SEO is not an overnight win. So you don't have as much work to educate them on the value of SEO versus AdWords. They know that they're spending money to acquire a customer. What you have to sell them on is the idea of that if they turn their spend off on AdWords, their customers disappear overnight. If you spend money on SEO, or at least effective SEO, that has a longer tail to it. And if you've got their website ranked on page 1 for the terms that bring customers through their door, the chances are that's going to hang around for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever.
Yeah, and the thing is, the landscape gets ever more complex as well, doesn't it? The digital landscape, because I mean, if you go back 10 years, and it was ranking a website, and people at the top of the website, Google used to quite like ranking websites at the top of Google. That's where they started. Although they seem to have forgotten that nowadays, don't they, with all their adverts and things. But that it was sort of fairly, and it was easier to rank websites back then as well, I guess. But it was a lot easier, wasn't it? Whereas now you see you've got all the ads there, you've got this local business direct, what's it called, local service agency ads, or local service ads, that's it, that come in from America. They're in some places in England already, in Manchester, I think, and in London. You've got the Google My Business there that we've got to get on top of then you've got all the Web 2.0 and the YouTube. It's just a crazy wide range of things that you've got to sort of understand as an SEO, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and the fact that a lot of it is interlinked as well. So it's you can't be a one-trick pony, I don't think. Well, that depends. I've got friends who are link builders, where they call themselves white hat link builders, right. and they tend to build links for big brands. So if your client is a big brand, they're probably used to paying 2, 3, 4, 5 grand a month and for white hat link building, 10 grand a month, maybe more. But those clients are harder to come by. Most businesses are still the small, less than 5 employees, and it's there's a lot more of them, but they're probably no easier to sell on the idea of SEO than the big brand who's willing to spend 10 grand a month on getting results.
And that is a good point, really, isn't it? Because the other tendency I see, and it's sort of a tendency that I've got, when you're building the confidence, you go out and look for those smaller businesses, and you pick up the bottom feeders, or whatever you want to call them. You pick those clients up because you think, well, that's easy pickings, and it's $100 here, $200, $300, whatever. But you're setting yourself up for a bad situation, really, aren't you? Because those people will never want to start paying you $500 or $1,000 because they don't understand that. They'll run you crazy sometimes. I mean, the amount of clients I've sacked that were in that category is just unbelievable, because their expectations are unreasonable, is probably a fair way of putting it. How do you sort of tend to try and set those expectations, Adrian?
I suppose having an open and frank discussion with them up front and saying, look, you have to realize that if their website is nowhere to be found, it's going to take at least 12 weeks to get decent traction, and they have to be prepared. They need to go into that a minimum of a 3-month term with you, knowing that they're going to be spending money each of those months and may not see a return, and the likelihood is they won't see a return. We had a conversation previously about using paid ads as well as spending on SEO, and that is a really good way to sell the customer, in that if they're spending a portion of their marketing spend on paid ads, that they're going to get a return. They're going to get some interaction, whether that's inquiries, calls, or maybe even lucky enough to get a customer from that paid ad spend while they're working on their SEO.
Yeah, there's two ways of approaching that, isn't there? I mean, I remember going to a conference. Oh dear, this is years ago. It was in Vegas. Must have been, I don't know, probably 7-8 years ago anyway. It's a long time ago. And there's a guy up there then who was doing lead generation. And one of the things he was saying is that, this was quite revolutionary back then as well. He was saying that he used to take, he used to charge people X amount of pounds for the lead, but whatever he got off a lead, if he got $100 off a lead for he was promoting gyms at the time, health clubs. And if he got $100 off a lead, he would invest $50 of that in getting another lead and another lead. And he never told them, though, in that case, because he didn't want them to know that necessarily that it was coming from leads. He just wanted them to know that Wanty Wonderful is delivering new prospects to their door, day by day, which I can understand that. I can understand that. And he's obviously front loaded that, built that into the cost of the leads that he's selling. He's obviously accounted for that. The way that I was, when we was talking earlier on, is one of the things that I'm thinking of doing is just saying to people, you will, if you want to work with us, you will have to pay, you will have to put X amount of pounds, X amount of dollars into an ad budget. We expect that because it's going to move you forward. And if nothing else, it's going to bring leads through the door today and tomorrow while we're waiting for the other things to catch up. So, and in that way, it's setting the expectation, and and I actually see, because as the Google landscape is moving more to a pay to play or pay to appear landscape, then I think it's not a bad thing to take a client down the route of expectation where they think they know they're going to have to pay to be found. People could argue that either way. I don't know.
I think it's sensible, because that is Google's goal. They're a corporation. They're not a charity. So they're in to make money. And regardless of what we might think of their the regularly changing the algorithm, making SEO hard for us, that's their job. They have to make money out of it. So yes, they're making a lot of money out of it. But you couldn't argue with the Yellow Pages back in the day that the more, if a business was spending 10 grand with them for a full page color ad, that the guys who got the free ads, the single line ads, couldn't really argue with that it was unfair. So SEO is a little bit like that. The guys who spend money get some element of prominence, but the people who spend money on SEO, on good SEO, stuff that works, with people who are able to deliver results, are getting a good element of prominence as well.
How do you see the where do you feel that where do you put most of your efforts with SEO? I mean, do you spend a lot of time around the Google My Business listings, or are you mainly organic?
It depends on what the client is. I know there's a big drive at the moment to focus on GMB rankings and getting people found in the map pack. That's sometimes a little bit misleading, because depending on the niche that the business is in will determine where the clicks go. If you're let's say you're a mortgage broker, or you're a divorce lawyer, the chances of people clicking on your GMB is probably much lower than the chances of them clicking on your website and your top level domain, because for the nature, the buyer intent there, it's probably not an immediate need. It's probably something that they want to be more careful about who they're dealing with. So if you're not going to if let's say you have a burst pipe in your house and the water's running down the walls, you want a plumber in a hurry. And if he can't fix the pipe, he doesn't get paid, right? So the worst thing that happens is that, you get your water turned off, you don't get your repair done. If you're in a nasty marriage and you want a divorce, are you going to go to quickiedivorces.com, or are you going to go to the guy who says, I get the best result for you in the divorce? If that's the sort of the content, and he's got endorsements and testimonials on his webpage to say, my wife was a so and so, and my lawyer showed her who was boss. It's
probably, I was going to say, it's probably not the best example using a lawyer website, is it? Because they're not the most enthralling, are they?
No, they're not. But I think the chances of someone researching, for a service where the cost is going to be, the financial cost could be much higher, or the emotional and time cost could be very high if it goes wrong. The chances of them doing research on the website versus clicking the first map pack result that comes up is probably different.
Now, so you've obviously, you see the things that they say on the website, you see the rights and the wrongs, but do you actually get involved in the web design yourself, or do you tend to swerve that one?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm not particularly, I don't have a flair for design, so I don't really like a lot of design. I don't think
most web designers don't, do they?
No, they don't.
I mean, we was looking around for a web designer to partner with in our local area, and I just looked at the top 10, and I went to see the websites that they'd already done, and they were just shocking, just absolutely shocking. But I don't want to do web designs, because again, you can never satisfy everybody, because you've got an idea of what it should be, but they've got a different idea, haven't they? It's their baby, and then suddenly you tell them that you're going to do them a 5-page website, and suddenly they want this popping out of here, and these videos, and that, and music, and I don't know, all sorts of crazy things, and you just think this is eating into the profits. I tend to sort of try and avoid the website personally. Well, obviously, because I can't see what it looked like last night's pizza if I did it. But I try and separate myself out from doing the websites. But then when you look at the websites, and it's so obvious. If you do step outside of that and just focus on SEO, it's so obvious to see where the errors are. I mean, you just saying there when you got water coming out your walls. Well, I went to a website the other day, and I think it was an electrician, but I looked at his homepage, and it was like talking about his family holiday that he's just had, and how he's had a day out with his kids at Alton Towers and things like that, a local theme park sort of thing. And I just think, I don't care. I said, all my electric's gone off. It's freezing cold. I can't get a light turned on, whatever. The last thing I need to know is read about his trip to Alton Towers while I'm trying to get my electrics mended. I just want to, just give me the button and get him around here. Yeah. And I think people lose sight of that, don't they? Including the businesses themselves. They want to be fuzzy friendly. They want to appear like we're this great family business. But if it's an emergency service, who gives us stuff? Yeah,
nobody gives a rat's ass. I think sometimes the web designers are at fault. Well, I suppose because creating websites, with the likes of Weebly and other crappy builders like that, make it so easy that people fall into the trap of building their own website. I was thinking that because I have a website, I'm going to get found. I had a conversation a couple of days ago with a chap who came to me for SEO help, and the first scene it was a Wix site, and I told him that there's nothing you can do with this site, and he told me he spent months writing the content, and he paid for a graphic designer to create his logo, and there's no way in hell he was going to give up his website just because I've said, I came to you for SEO help, not for a criticism of my website, is it? I'm trying to be helpful. I'm not trying to criticize you. You have to start again from scratch with something that, take the content, use it again on a WordPress site, and
Yeah, I've had the same thing where they've come to me with I don't know, it was some, it was like Shopify type store, and he was selling garden sheds or something, and same sort of thing really, but trying to tell him, because that was his baby, and he didn't want to do, and he phoned me up, but then he started just arguing every point, oh yeah, and then he kept saying, oh, I'm too old for that, oh, I can't be doing with all that, oh, and in the end, I just go, thank you very much. I can't help you. But it is a frustrating thing sometimes, that is, isn't it? So I mean, where else? But Google My Business. I mean, we touched on that, and again, now this I don't know, because I mean, I'm not really that. Obviously, I've never had a Google My Business in America necessarily. Not the real one anyway. But but I've got lots of Google My Business in England, and I fully agree with Google My Business. I fully see the benefit. Again, it's a quick win. You can get them ranking pretty quick. You can get them up there within a day or two. You can get people do click on them, but I don't think that they're quite the cash cow that they're sort of made out to be.
It depends on the niche. I've done a lot of work with emergency type services and home services in the States and in the UK, and for certain niches, they certainly get a lot of traffic. They get a lot of calls. They're extremely valuable. So, but I don't think it should be a one or the other for most businesses. I think it should be a case of both, because in the last few months, there's been a lot of businesses, whether they be genuine businesses or lead generation businesses, have lost their GMBs. They've had GMBs suspended left, right, and center. And right now, I have one of my clients wants me to change the phone number on their GMB, and I told them I'm not going to touch it, because that's probably going to trigger a suspension or a re-verification. The re-verification you could live with, but the triggering a suspension, we don't want to run the risk of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put my hand up here, because I've been talking to you about it. I know where I lost one myself just the other day, and I'll tell you this because, well, not you, I mean the people, anybody listening, because I think it's important. And the thing they said was, you're not allowed to have two businesses at the same address, which we know that rule, we've seen it. But I sort of said to the guy, I said, but I've got 6 or 7 businesses at this address. So how come? Why is that one the guilty one? Why is that one getting disabled? What's going on here? And then he says, yeah, but you got 2 with the same Gmail address. I thought, okay, and that's against the terms and conditions. Well, I don't know whether that is it when they're saying 2 at the same address is, but what they then turn that into is the address being the Gmail, 2 in the same Google My Business account, which wasn't an agency account. It was just a normal GMB account. I guess they would say that why would you want 2 businesses at the same address? Because theoretically, if you had a Google My Business account and in there you had multiple listings, surely they would all be at different locations. I guess that's where they're coming from. But just as a word of warning, if you're going to start setting up 2 or 3 businesses from your home, fair enough, do it. I mean, I've got plenty here. But make sure you either use separate Gmail. Well, just do it. Just use separate Gmail accounts, because literally it takes 2 minutes to set up a Gmail account.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's in the Ranking Factory group, we see regularly, and through different Facebook groups, you see people making a big deal about having to have multiple Gmail accounts. Gmails are free. Why would you not? Why would you not separate for your own sanity and to protect your clients or your own properties? If you needed to have 50 Gmails for 50 GMBs, do it. Don't run the risk of losing everything because of laziness,
And talking about laziness, I mean, what I found with logging into Gmail accounts, I don't have any problems with this. When I want to get onto a new Gmail account, I open a new incognito window and I sign in, and it's happy. I never get any problems. If I need to sign into another one, I close all my Google out. I open up a new browser. I go into a new incognito. I think I've mentioned it in the groups before, because if you have too many incognitos open, they do bleed. Yeah. They do talk to each other. So get one incognito window open, go into your Gmail, close it out, job done. If you log into another Gmail from your main browser, you've all seen it, and then suddenly it's got a long list of all your Gmails all happily sat there. Well, if you can see it, I'm damn sure Google can, because it's their page. Yep. So don't create those links just out of just being lazy. And the times I've had VAs where I say go into an incognito window every time, do it like this, only open one at a time. And of course, they forget. And then the next thing you know, you're having to re-verify the Google business and so on and so forth. Not the business, the Gmail. Yeah. So it's just using common sense, isn't it, with these sorts of things? Just been a little bit careful about how you go ahead, really. I'm straying away from the point, and I know we was 5 minutes late, and now we're 5 minutes late to finish as well. So that's the 30 minutes. I told you it went fast. Is there any? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is anybody? Can we see the YouTube? Has anybody got that on? Has anybody actually asked any questions at all?
Just see if I can see
we'll have a quick look before we do it. I don't know. I think I might have a YouTube open somewhere, but I think the chances of me finding this are just not, but anyway, look, if anybody has asked a question, if we don't find them now, we will answer them afterwards. I think, is there anything else you want to add before we sort of start wrapping up, Adrian?
Just, I suppose that, it's a great business when it's great. It can be very tough whenever you don't have your first client, or you have one or two clients and you lose them, because if you're dealing with small businesses, they do churn, and it's not necessarily anything you're doing wrong. They just, maybe they don't see enough value in it to keep going, or maybe you get results quickly, and as soon as they see results, they drop because they don't want to keep spending money that they feel they don't necessarily have to. So it's a brilliant business. It's been a really good business for me. I enjoy. It's like a big game. It's like a strategy game that you get paid to play.
Yeah, and on the other thing that we probably ought to just drop in is, when you get a new tactic, when you get a new tool from the Ranking Factory or wherever else you get one from, just try it first before you go flying it at you. I've seen it time and time again in the groups where they come up and say, "Oh, I've got a client. I'm going to fire 20,000 links at them tomorrow." Just try it at one of your own first. Have plenty of your own assets out there that you can keep testing with. That's what I do. That's the best way. Just don't kill a client before you've even got the first paycheck out of them.
That is very true.
Yeah. So no, that's it then. Well, there we go. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Thank you very much, Adrian, for coming along, and I'm sure we will see you again very soon as well on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And anybody got any questions, either ask them in the Skype group, in the on the YouTube channel there. We will look, we will answer as always. And thank you very much. And we're following along the same topic next week, when we've got another SEO person coming along to tell us all about their business. I think it's Caroline, I think, anyway, but whatever. We're gonna follow this topic through for another week at least. So if you've got burning questions about how you move your SEO agency forward, then please turn up again next week. And that's it. My voice is going, so I'm going to say goodbye.
Thanks very much, Tony.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.